Today's episode is sponsored by Yellow Funding, an innovative college financing platform built for today's students and schools. As federal lending pulls back and private loans fall short, too many students are forced to pause or abandon their degrees. Yellow steps in and offers income-based financing to close that last-mile funding gap, helping students stay enrolled. Yellow funds tuition and living expenses in exchange for a capped share of future income, aligning affordability with real career outcomes. For deans and financial aid leaders focused on access, persistence, and enrollment stability, Yellow offers a new tool to support student success. Learn more at yellowfunding.com. That's YELO funding.com. The EdUp experience has delivered over 1,000 episodes with higher ed leaders from around the world. Now you can support the show for just $5.99 a month and lock in that rate for life when you join before December 31st, 2025. You'll enjoy ad-free early access to episodes. Go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com. Click support the show and secure your lifetime rate today. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and I am back with another episode. And my main man on the microphone, Darius Goldman, founder and CEO at Career Bond. Darius, what's going on?
Hey, Elvin. I just realized every time you introduce me, I wave, and I realized this is audio only.
Audio only, man. Well, for those listening, there's a wave from Darius there for you. All right, so you know how I work. Let's get her right in. Our guest, she is Sophie Nguyen, and she is Senior Policy Manager of Higher Education at New America. Sophie, how you doing today?
Good. Very nice to be here with you all today.
Awesome. We're happy to have you with us. And so we always like to level set. Tell us all about New America. Tell us about what it is, what it's about, who you serve, how you do it. Tell us the story.
So, hi everyone. For those that haven't heard of us, New America is a think tank based in Washington, D.C. As a big organization, we conduct research and do policy advocacy on a variety of issues from domestic policy to even foreign policy. I'm part of the education team at New America, which is actually, I think, the biggest policy program here. The education team, we focus on the full spectrum of educations from early ed to pre-K-12 to all the way to higher education and workforce development. And within the education team, I'm part of the higher education team, in which we focus on mostly foreign policy issues related to college, in terms of college affordability, financial aid, student loans, or accountability. One of the area that I am working on now is public opinion in higher ed. I will definitely and we definitely gonna talk about it later, in our call today. But technically we conduct surveys of Americans, of students, or sometimes focus group of students and administrator and practitioners to just learn about how they feel and their experience with higher education, what they think should change, what the system can do better to serve them. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Okay, that's great. And just one follow-up question before I pass it over to Darius. We have a lot of college presidents who are listening to this podcast. And so the question I have is, from their perspective, from their point of view, what are the 1, 2, 3 top things that are coming out of New America that they should be paying attention to? I mean, you talked about public opinion about higher ed, so we're going to talk about that report, obviously. But overall, when it comes to New America, a college president should think of New America, and they should think about these top 2 or 3 things that they can get away and learn from and get information from and use that to help with their everyday higher education business.
That's a great question. So from the higher ed team at New America, we produce report and writings, focused mostly on foreign policy issues, and especially related to policy surrounding financial aid, student loans, including student loans, and certain for a program like the Pell Grant, for example. We also write about institutional aid, so like a program from the federal government to colleges such as like minority serving institutions to help strengthen their capacity to help so that they can support the student better. We write extensively about accountability measures, like measures that in place to make sure that college will provide students with good outcomes, like in terms of like earning and employment outcome, like after they enroll in their programs. And like a lot, like we have folks on our team focus on like very specific issues like accreditations in higher education. So like, of course, public opinions. Want to learn about what Americans think about higher ed, like please think of us and look up our surveys from our website.
Fantastic. Over to you, Darius.
Yeah. Sophie, thanks so much for sitting down with us. I'm super interested in this conversation because what I understand is you have the methodology. You're doing the proper sample statistical representations of U.S. adults, and this is where the results come from. I have like boots on the ground experience where I talk to hundreds of thousands of people on TikTok. So I think it's going to be such a great balance between a statistical representation versus just like anecdotal what I hear. Before we get into the conversation, could you talk a little about the methodology that you're using to come up with these surveys? Because I think that goes towards appreciating the results that we're about to discuss.
Varying degrees, the survey that we're talking about right now, today, is a nationally representative survey that we have been conducted annually since 2017. So we have had 9 years of data on American perspective of higher education. To answer your questions in terms of the methodology, how we conduct a survey. So we contracted with NORC at the University of Chicago and used their AmeriSpeak panel, which is a probability-based online panel to help FIRES connect, to help FIRES reach the nationally representative sample of American adult populations for our survey. So I would say, so varying degree in 2025, we have a little bit more than 1,600 people in our sample because of the way we conducted the survey. It's it's mostly online, but some of the respondents can answer the surveys through the phone as well, because you cannot to be able to capture because there's still some people that's just not online, and then we try to make sure that our surveys is able to be to represent the most authentic of like how Americans feel about higher ed. So I think like we work with the NORC team to make sure the methodology and everything will be able to get us the nationally representative sample that we want. And the survey finding has a margin of errors. Like after all the analysis process done by NORC, we found that the survey has a margin of error of plus and minus around 2.3 percentage point. So that's just in like a nutshell, like how we come about with making sure our methodology will give us the nationally representative sample that we want.
I appreciate that because to understand the methodology, to appreciate the methodology gives veracity to the results. And looking at the results from your report, Varying Degrees 2025, I'm going to call it for short. What I see is that it captures how Americans are feeling about higher ed. Here's my takeaway, but please correct me. Trust is falling, cost is rising, but the important but belief in the value of education, the mission of education, the practical implication that education is actually a good thing, net positive, that still runs super deep by the percentages of these responses that we got. That was my takeaway.
Yeah.
Cost falling, cost rising, but it's still worth saving. It's a deeply valued construct.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we found with the findings as well. And not just with this year's finding that has been consistently show up in across all the year that we have conducted the surveys. We know that people are frustrated. The numbers show that people are frustrated with higher ed is the way it is right now. Not many think that is affordable. And cost has come up over and over again to be like one of the main sticking point as to why people think higher ed is not fine the way it is. But at the same time, we have data that show like a majority of Americans of the population still think that higher ed is worth the investment and would still want to send their children to some sort of like education after high school, whether it's a technical program or an associate program or a bachelor degree program. So yeah, like we see that like the belief in the value of what higher ed can bring to the student is very strong. But that, yes, that is frustrations in terms of like how to access and how to afford the education.
I actually agree with you on that, and I don't think there's an easy answer, but I think it is worth the conversation. I personally, in my role at Career Bond, I talk to thousands of adults weekly. Social media, TikTok comments is mainly how we're doing it, but it's public comments. And from these thousands of micro conversations, what we're seeing is that adults, they live this tension. They want the education, they want it to be faster, more affordable, they want it to be tied to a career. From your perspective, what do you think is driving this shift in how people see the purpose of higher ed? What does it mean for how we prepare the new workforce of today, like the modern learner, I like to call them?
So I will say, first, when we think of higher educations, we need to stop thinking that it's just about the bachelor, the 4-year bachelor degree, and stop thinking that it's just the student, like people that go, like that enroll in higher program that like they are like mainly like students just graduated from high school. Because it's like, it's no longer the case. We have the populations of like student in the undergraduate program, like can be anything from a technical program, for a technical certificate programs to like an associate program or like bachelor degree program. Is very diverse in terms of like, their race and ethnicity, in terms of their age group, in terms of work experience. And yes, it makes sense if they have different need, different things that they prioritize and they looking for when they decide which program they enroll in. And so when we think of higher education, we need to think of like how we create those how the system is prepared to be able to such a diverse population of students. And obviously, the bachelor 4-year degree is an answer, but it's not the only answers. Like not everyone, like especially like for adults looking to returning to college, like after a few years of working, not everyone is looking to get a bachelor degree. They might just need some program, hopefully a high quality program for them to like either like get the learning new skill set, or like to help with the current career, or like to gain a new skill set for them to start a new career. And a lot of them need that to happen like in a pretty like short period of time, not 4 years, because the opportunity cost for them is definitely much higher. So yeah, like I think that is that real demand. But when we think of the perceptions of talking about higher educations, especially like what you find like in mainstream media, like even nowadays, like when we talk about higher educations, people just see like the 4-year institutions over and over again, like mentions in those new articles. Like we see the Harvard, the Yale, the Ivy, the ivory towers of higher educations mentioned over and over again, but not those like programs that like try that like trying to serve these populations that just like want to like learn a new skill sets for them to like upstart their career somewhere. So yeah, so I think it's like in order to think of a solution of how to help students better, like I think there need to be a perception shift among and I'm not saying that people are not aware of this. Like we in the field are aware of this need, of this new demand, this growing diverse population of students. But I think like sometimes, like, for some reason, that perception, that understanding is still lost, like, among, like, mainstream conversations, like, public conversation when we talk about higher educations, what it can do. Rather, like, now I still see there's a huge focus on just, like, when we talk about higher education, still a huge focus on, like, just the 4-year degree program. Yeah, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you completely. One thing, a change that I would love to see is, you said this earlier, stop thinking that higher education is just a bachelor's degree. It's no longer the case. You also said that adults returning to college, not everyone's looking to get the bachelor's. They want career readiness. I agree with you completely, on the same page. The shift that I would love to see in our, lifetime is, whether it's right or wrong, and candidly, I think it's wrong. So I'll put my cards on the table. It seems that there's higher ed, 4-year degree, and then there's alternative ed. Hey, what do you teach? I teach higher ed. I teach a bachelor's. It's a 4-year program. What do you teach? I'm an alt ed, alternative ed. I do a cybersecurity short-term skills training program. If there was one change that I think would be more reflective of where society is, and perhaps this is what your data is indirectly suggesting, is that stop calling it higher ed and alternative ed. And instead of X% bachelor's and minority percent alternative credentials, it's the concept of education is, pick the suite of learning methodology that you want for your individual journey. And there are some people that could take a 4-month skills-based training program, become workforce ready, and then earn not only the same, but probably more than someone who just finished a 4-year liberal arts degree and now is becoming a first level junior associate at a major firm. And then when you couple in the difference of 3 additional years of schooling and the debt, it's not even a fair comparison. The ROI on short-term skills training exceeds general liberal arts education dramatically, to the point that it shouldn't be that's the standard. It should just be, here are ways to educate yourself. Here's career readiness. You pick the path that's appropriate for you.
Today's episode is sponsored by Yellow Funding. Every year, students drop out of college, not because of academics, but because they hit a funding wall. As federal lending grows more limited and private loans remain inaccessible for many families, more students are hitting a financial wall mid-year. Yellow provides financing when traditional options fall short. By closing that last-mile affordability gap, Yellow helps colleges improve retention and keep students on the path to graduation. Learn more at yellowfunding.com. That's YELO funding.com. Support the EdUp experience for just $5.99 a month and lock in that rate for life. You'll get ad-free early access to episodes. But hurry, price goes up after December 31st, 2025. Visit edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and click support the show.
So that's the thing I want to respond to your comments. So first of all, I think maybe there's still misconception that those like vocational program that you just mentioned happening elsewhere, but not on a college campus. Most of the vocational training programs still happen on a college campus, like community colleges. They offer a lot of those programs, even like some 4-year regional. They do offer a lot of those certificate, like shorter term programs. And that's why they are part of the ecosystem as well. And even though, yes, fundamentally, those programs are different from a 4-year program. There shouldn't be like a segregation between those programs and a 4-year degree, and should be all considered just like post-secondary educations or education after high school or higher educations. Like, I think, yes, that is a messaging problem that needs to be fixed. And need to be fixed, like, I think, like, at many level, like, yeah, at the college level, like, with, like, from the institutions, that's, like, there needs to be better narrative that they provide to students. Like, obviously, students from high school, a lot of them are, like, showing interested in doing different pathway that is not a traditional 4-year program. So those messages need to, like, like those K-12 level, like they need to have better messaging or like narrative about like these programs as well. But then also the second point about the outcomes of like 4-year degree or versus a shorter term vocational training program. Like I would say, like I think everyone should be able to afford or like choose the program that they going into, as long as the program is like transparent about the outcome that they provide to students. We support the like the different pathway. Like at New America, we support a different pathway that lead to that people want to enroll in higher education. It doesn't have to be a 4-year, but what we care about, and we want to make sure of, we want to how college is accountable for like the quality, like what they provide to students, making sure that student earnings after they enroll in the program is higher than the earning that they would have without enrolling in the program, like in terms of like job placement. Like if those are like vocational programs, we really care looking at data in terms of job placement, like what percentage of students actually going into and being employed in the field that they were trained for. And like we also care about like for those short-term programs, the ability to build on it later, like in terms of like to build on like the different certificate that you have so that you may be able to get a degree later. So that's what I think it's like, yes, it's great to have options, but we want to make sure those are high quality options, and not just like a temporary solutions to the student problem and will not lead them to long-term economic well-being.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I think this is where some of it I want to repeat because there's a lot to unpack there. You are absolutely right that some of the more traditional universities, they're starting to provide these vocational and non-degree programs. I actually see this as a very positive update.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with educational institutions is that they're run like educational institutions, not like entrepreneurial organizations.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that are more forward-leaning have started to incorporate, whether through acquisition or just adding on the programs themselves, boot camps, skills training, vocational training. So now you go to a university like Cornell, but you could also get the non-degree program. Auburn University does a lot of this. It acknowledges what the modern learner does want, right? Maybe they don't want the bachelor, so now they can go to Auburn, but they could also get cybersecurity training. You also mentioned this, but it's worth like repeating because for viewers that hear this, community colleges, they are terrific options.
Yeah.
Field-based learning. Terrific. There's some community colleges, and the one escapes me right now, but they have Alvin, who are the people that keep the planes in the air, the flight controls?
Aviation?
Yeah, but no, not flying the plane. The people who like instruct the airplane.
Air traffic controller.
Yeah.
I forget which community college has this, but they have the best air traffic controller program in the nation with modern 3D UI, UX visual. Like you would never think that. And it's the type of program that if not offered through a community college, the private institution would probably, for the same exact program, probably more likely than not charge more. Colleges are terrific options, not even alternatives, but options for that modern learner that wants a career-focused training. So we're together on that. One thing though, to give an opportunity to look deeper into the report on areas we didn't touch yet. One thing that did stand out to me, and we talked about this a little, but I want to go deeper now, is this contradiction that almost everyone agrees college should prepare you for the real world, yet really no one trusts higher education. So from your report, 96% said college needs to prepare you for real world careers, but then only 54% think that college has a positive effect on the country, which is down from 69% a few years ago. And then when I couple that with another stat from your report, only 40% think that higher education is fine as is. So what I'm seeing and what I think the report is telling me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, most want reform, not elimination. How do we achieve this? Like, first, am I reading the report correctly? And then if I am correct, like, what do we do with these learnings?
No, that's just the like why, like that. Those are the questions we've been trying to answer with the surveys for all the years that we conducted them. And yeah, I was. It's like what you said. Yeah, like people do see the purpose and the value or the role for college. They don't want just to dismantle higher educations. Like, I think that's is what the data show. Even as the, like, not just from our surveys, but if you follow like other surveys about higher education in this, like from, for example, Gallup or Peel, you'll also find similar stats showing declining interest for higher educations, and also showing like fewer people find that like higher ed has positive impact on the way things are going in the country, for example. So I would say to understand those particular data point, like in terms of like whether higher ed is, people think higher ed is how it is, or like whether people have confidence for higher education, like there are also a lot of other things that factors in the way people answer those questions, right? Like, like the role higher ed, like provide training, for like for the work, like provide training and like the workforce for the economy. But at the same time, when we think of like how people answer those questions about whether people think whether they think is like doing what it should, or like find the way it is, they also factor in other like other areas. Like, first of all, like they factor in the cost of college. People are aware that, like there's a benefit, there's an upside to going to college. I mean, and by college, I don't mean just the 4-year degree. Like, I mean also, like we talk about this. I want to be clear that it's also mean like other programs, like certificate and vocational training program included as well. But the cost of those programs, like there's a cost that not everyone can afford. Like when people think of college, they think of it as an investment. And that's why to be able to enroll in college, you sort of like think that, oh, there's a cost that you have to pay upfront. The problem is not like, it's not a lot of people can find those costs affordable right now, which makes and not just right now. And the issues with affordability has been a sticky point for higher education for a long time, right? And the problem is, like, I feel like it's just getting worse every year, and that it has not been a major solution that will be able to like, change that perception or that problem anytime soon. Yes, a lot of college has their own tuitions assistance programs. Like they can have their own grant program to support like the student with the most financial need. For example, like the federal government has the Pell Grant program for like low income students, but even the Pell Grant program like has not been kept up with the in college costs for many years. Like, yes, state does have some, like does provide funding for for their public institutions so that they can keep costs low for in-state students, like funding for, but that has, I would say, like even like after like the Great Recession, it has increased, but it's still like not helping with that conceptions of like college getting any more affordable. And then we have to factor in like other like issues that happen on campus. Like, like we see also like in talking points from like both like on the political fields, like in policy, like in the political space about higher education, like there has been, yes, people think that higher ed should prepare students with the skill they need for the workforce, but there's also criticisms from like from a lot of politicians that college is not doing the job like of like teaching the students with the relevant skill that they need so that they succeed in the workforce. Yes, and there's also criticisms about like college is like imposing their own ideas on students rather than letting students like exploring, encourage students to like a diverse source of ideas. So that like when we like for those questions, the scope of those questions and what can influence like people responses to questions about like there's overall feelings about higher education. The issue goes beyond just preparing students for like a career, preparing students for like a life with like better financial security, a better like economic well-being. Like I think it's like a lot of factors that goes into responses of those questions. So that's why you sort of see, I think they are interrelated, but those are like inherently two different questions, like talking about two different areas of our perspective of higher education. So that's why you see like vastly different responses. Yeah. I mean, I talk a lot, so I stop there in case you have any response to that.
Points. And
yeah.
To recap it, one of the harder components is that, yes, we are talking about just higher education, but we've already acknowledged that the menu has so many choices on it. So when we talk in these generalized manners, it's not that we're trying to ignore or, hey, this portion is good, but this portion is bad. It's the concept. And the concept is usually that there's a trust gap and probably a affordability gap.
Yeah.
With the recent legislation that came out, the one big beautiful bill, or BBB as they're calling it, that's obviously changing the affordability structure. I speak to a lot of administrators at schools. I know that they're worried about how to finance traditional programs versus career training programs. And then when I talk to students, because again, I don't even call them students, I call them adult learners. But when I talk to adult learners, it's not that they're anti-college. They just want to be trained in a career. They want it fast. They want it to lead to a real job. And I think that if the paradigm shifts a little and we let that modern adult learner take more control of their destiny, when they have these admissions calls, they shouldn't like let that admissions officer almost like steamroll them. They should turn the script on them and literally say to that admissions officer, where's the ROI on this? Why do I want to take this course? What's my ROI by taking this course? That if there was only one question to ask, I think every admissions call should come down to, what's the ROI for me to take this course from you?
Yeah. And I would say another very important stakeholder we haven't mentioned when it comes to vocational training program. Also, I have to say that I'm not an expert on vocational training program. We had a different team that focus on that, and love to connect you with the teams later. But I would say we haven't talked about the role of employer. I think employer plays a huge role in developing these programs and also in funding these programs, because if you want the workforce that you needed, that you're looking for, you should invest in it. And I think that's a huge role for partnership between college and employers so that like to make these vocational programs much more affordable for students to enroll in. Yeah, like obviously there's role for state, for the federal government to play in. But yeah, like I would have to I have to mention the role of employer as well. Yeah, because they are the one that gonna benefit a lot from like if they have a better workforce that meet what they want. I think it totally makes sense that they spend more to invest in these programs and work with college to provide the training for students.
You're 1,000% right. The difficulty is who's going to champion that? And candidly, it has to be the school. So we're doing a product with Jersey College School of Nursing where they've partnered with hospital systems. And what the hospitals are doing, they're paying down the student loans of these nurses if they agree to go work at the hospital system post-graduation. And they're using it as a recruitment tool. A lot of other companies are doing this as well. The difficulty with doing this is it takes someone entrepreneurial to connect the school with the employer and structure this full cycle product of student to employment and the benefits associated, because obviously the employer wins. The student will win by knowing they have a job coming out of college or training. You're right. The employer role is a big part of it. It goes back to what I said a little earlier. The schools that are more forward leaning, the schools that are able to act a bit more entrepreneurial in what the mission is. And candidly, the mission is careers, education. Education that leads to careers. Learning for learning's sake is nice, but that's a luxury. to live, to be a productive member of society, you need learning that then translates into economic mobility through career, through workforce, through production. The schools that recognize this and could partner with employers to say, hey, we have a pipeline. We have a pipeline that we could send to you. Be a part of this. Be a part of the solution. Those are the ones that'll win.
Yeah. And I just think the problem is a lot of this is still happening on a more like a local level and not yet been able to scale. It's just like also a big problem with these career training programs. So their visibility is really not high. So not a lot of students know about the program to be able to take advantage of them. But yeah, like communication's also a huge gap here. Which I know. It's another horse of
Yeah, I'm laughing over here because you just pitched when I'm not podcasting, my other company, it's the visibility. It's the visibility career program. You're absolutely right. And the smarter ones will work with me to help them with that visibility. So thank you for pitching me.
So Sophie, the check is in the mail. So Sophie, last question for you. And based on 9 years of data, which I think is phenomenal, and your experience and all this research that you've seen, everything you've done on all the podcasts, and I'm very curious to hear, what do you see as the future of higher education, Sophie?
Very hard questions, to be honest. I don't know what's happening in the next 10 years or even 5 years, because I feel like a lot of changes are coming to higher education. We talk about, we talk about the invasions of AI and what that would mean. And will they, not just like AI in, like how the prevalence of AI in the workforce would mean for the value of higher education, but how colleges using of AI today and students using of AI today will affect the quality of learning. So that is one thing I would definitely continue to follow. But at the same time, no matter what's happening with AI, a lot of the fundamental issues about higher education, yes, there's perception, there's misalignments in I'd say perception of community narrative about higher education, the problem with affordability issues, those will continue to be the thorny areas that need to be able to find solutions for. And obviously it will require the partnership with multiple stakeholders in the space. College, state employers, and to be able to find out a solution that works for that helps students on a larger scale. And I would say change takes time. Sometimes change a lot. We would say we saw a lot of things happen to higher education, a lot of challenges coming to higher education at the beginning of this year, right? And it's still continue to pile up, I would say. But at the same time, to be able to see very impactful change, it takes time. And I think for me, for people in this space, we will continue to work toward that focus. And it's challenging and it can be disheartening sometimes, but I do see that I think I still believe in the goal of higher education is to serve our students and to help them leading to better lives. So I would say that would still be no matter what change, that would still be the goal of higher education. And I mean, I'm a bit nervous to think about the futures, but also I do feel confidence that will still be the case, and that give me the motivation to continue to work in this space.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sophie. This was a great conversation, great insights. Really appreciate the stats. And I want to outro my guest co-host, Darius Goldman, founder and CEO of Career Bond. Thank you as always, Darius.
This time I'm not waving because no one's going to see me wave.
No waving, just thank you. Our guest today, ladies and gentlemen, she's your guest. She is Sophie Nguyen, and she is Senior Policy Manager of Higher Education at New America. Sophie, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp. Today's episode is sponsored by Yellow Funding, the college gap financing partner for today's students. As federal lending tightens and private loans remain out of reach for many families, Yellow steps in to help learners stay enrolled and on track to graduate. Learn how Yellow is supporting retention at yellowfunding.com. That's YELO funding.com. EdUp Experience has brought you powerful conversations with more than 400 college presidents and higher ed leaders, over 1,000 episodes and counting. Now, we're inviting you to join us in shaping the future of higher ed podcasting. For just $5.99 a month, you lock in that rate for life, but only if you sign up before December 31st, 2025. As a supporter, you'll get ad-free early access to episodes. Prices go up after December 31st, but your rate never will. Visit edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com. Click support the show and join our community today.